Warning: the following content was produced from an exotical perspective and may cause irritation and feelings of triggerness in individuals with closed minds, hating as monitoring spirits, inferiority complexes, or hotep tendencies. RDBG is not responsible for any emotional dysregulation or crash outs that may occur as a result of watching this video. Viewer discretion advised. Hey, hope you're doing well. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're one of the homies that's been here, welcome back. Also, a quick thank you to the people who always watch and engage with my videos. I really appreciate y'all and I love the community we're forming. Anyway, today I wanted to come on and talk about a video I recently saw discussing Halle Berry and her placement on the colorist hierarchy and calling her a quote-unquote regular light-skinned Black woman. Then I want to discuss the disingenuous mindfuck that declaration is and how the Black community uses that type of rhetoric as a tactic to gaslight and triangulate exoticals. Let's take a look.
Let's quickly talk about the term white passing, because I saw a tweet that talked about how Halle Berry was white passing, and that, my friends, she's definitely not. White passing is when someone perceives a person of color as a white person. It also happens when a certain member of a racial or ethnic group presents themselves as belonging to another group, which is generally a non-marginalized one. Historically, people have passed as white for their safety, for better opportunities, or in order to escape oppression. Now, obviously, that's just a brief summary and there's much more to it, but what's important to note here is that in order to pass, one must be able to hide or simply not have characteristics or traits most often associated with their particular racial or ethnic group. And in this case, what characteristics does Halle Berry have that could allow her to do that? The answer is none, because she presents as a Black woman. See, this is also where the conversation surrounding phenotype comes into play, because Halle Berry doesn't look mixed on sight. Her observable characteristics, so phenotype, make her look like a light-skinned Black woman, whereas Meghan Markle's phenotype, for example, is immediately understood as being mixed, to me at least. Now, could they both have benefited from colorism in their spaces? Absolutely, but in no space is Halle Berry seen as white presenting, much less white passing. To give you a better idea, let me give you some visual examples as to where some people did or do pass as white. Anatole Brouillard, for example, a late New York Times book critic, hid his Black ancestry for years. White passing, yes. Broadway sensation Carol Channing hid her Black ancestry until the age of 81. White passing, yes. On the other hand, Freddie Washington, an actress known for her role in Imitation of Life, possessed all the traits needed to pass for white, but actually refused to deny her heritage and advocated for Black people in entertainment. But let's also take a look at some more recent examples. Pete Wentz is white passing. Wentworth Miller is white passing. Jennifer Beals could be white passing. Troyan Belisario could be white passing. There are other examples, but ultimately what everyone should take away from this is that in no world is she white passing or white presenting. I hope that cleared some things up, because if Halle Berry is considered white passing, then so am I, and I can tell you firsthand that my life experiences have not reflected that.
Now, whether you think Halle Berry is white passing or not depends on how much you get out and where you've been. In America, no. Well, maybe in the South, like Florida and Louisiana, where people get pretty dark. But in places like South America, the Caribbean, and Southern Europe, absolutely. Like these comments said, come to New Orleans and your mind will be blown, right? I know I've seen Cajun white people get pretty dark. And then like this other person says, like, you're showing old pictures when sis was out in the sun. She looks white now, especially with shades on. Exactly. Especially if you like looking quick and like not even like, if I saw her in my peripheral while I was walking past, like I wouldn't even think twice. I definitely think she could go for someone of Hispanic descent or someone from the Middle East. Just like I think Meghan Markle can. Look at Halle Berry today. This woman could definitely go for someone who's spicy white. And like I said in my Shade Shifter video, I think it's very common for light-skinned famous people to darken their skin to appeal to Blacker audiences. This is usually during their come up, but that's just part of the fluidity of like people who shade shifts experience. Like, we can pick when we want to be super light, we can pick when we want to be darker. Actually, Exotical Epiphany actually posted a video recently of Raven Simone speaking on how she used to tint because she wanted to fit in more or feel more beautiful. We can't pretend like that's not actually a thing. And then I know I keep seeing people talk about Halle Berry's nose job, but even before the nose job, she looked very obviously mixed. And this guy says, we're telling you we didn't know she was biracial until she told us. LOL. You do know light-skinned Black women exist. And then another person says, Halle Berry is a very beautiful woman, but she doesn't look biracial. She looks like any other beautiful Black woman that is not biracial. Black people come in many different shades that aren't biracial. Well, first of all, biracial is not a shade. It's a genetic makeup, but okay. And my thing is, if she's biracial and she looks that way, that means her phenotype is a mixed phenotype. And here's where the mindfuck rhetoric starts to come in. This person says in the US, most people who are labeled quote unquote black are actually multi generationally mixed. Having some degree of European heritage is the norm. Halle looks quote unquote black by American standards. And then the next person says, Punnett squares stay confusing people. Eye color and hair type are not specific to race. It is possible for a black person with two black parents to have blue eyes. I have cousins with blue eyes. And then someone else is probably going to say that Vanessa Williams with two light skinned black parents looks more mixed than Halle Berry. So they're saying that Halle Berry looks like the average black person whose admixture makes them appear more mixed. The thing is, just because the average black American has admixture doesn't mean it'll manifest in their phenotype. I have a family and a 23andMe full of unambiguous black relatives with more admixture than I have as an exotical, and have relatives with more admixture than I have, and we look very, very similar. So having the admixture doesn't always equal a phenotype that makes it more apparent. And just based on people disliking the fact that I call myself regular black girl when they hear about my MLS experiences, my guess is that the average phenotype of an everyday admixed monoracial isn't an MLS phenotype. And I'm glad this person brought up Tyla and that whole situation with her calling herself colored. If you're someone who believes in the one drop rule, okay, but you can't be delusional and think people should ignore all the rest of their ancestry, especially if it's in close proximity to them. I personally think a lot of unambiguous black people have a very obvious deep seated jealousy toward people who have visibly non black ancestry in their background. And they just refuse to admit it because they feel that having majority black ancestry makes you, I guess, less interesting. Like, why else would it be so hurtful to just acknowledge someone else's truth? That's unfair to people, even if as a monoracial black American, you feel like you've been denied your own truth and just also didn't stand on business when it comes to gatekeeping and maintaining your own history. Even within family, I know this from personal experience, there can be resentment if the admixture shows up in your phenotype and not a family member's, even if there's just a hint of difference. And I think I heard Felicia Rashad speak on this before, because if you ever seen Debbie Allen, I've actually met her before and she's really nice. She spoke on, I think Felicia Rashad looks admixed, very admixed, but Debbie Allen just looks at a little bit more of, has a little bit more of a mixed phenotype than she does. And I think she talked about like the complexity of like how that made her feel as a kid. And that was just a quick tangent, but I think even those types of nuances, that even having like family members who are a little bit less ambiguous than you are, contributes to that mindfuck rhetoric, because it's like, okay, let me bring this person back down to earth. I know they came out looking a bit more mixed than I did, but I need to humble you really quick because I'm just regular dangler. You're just regular dangler, right? Anyway, so immediately after watching the video, I was irked for so many reasons, but I couldn't exactly understand why this video irritated me so bad. And then I realized the primary reason this video irked me is because she's on some disingenuous ass light skinned savior pandering type shit. It's because she's projecting the humbling and gaslighting she accepted from the unambiguous community onto Halle Berry. Because saying Halle Berry doesn't look quote unquote mixed on sight and looks like an quote unquote everyday light skinned black woman is a key indicator of hierarchy thinking that usually goes right over people's heads, I believe. She's using Halle Berry's fluid phenotype to invalidate her experience as a mixed woman, which I can guarantee this lady who made the video received the same exact gaslighting, probably verbatim. And it doesn't irritate me that they're using light skinned monoracials to humble her, because light skinned baddies is light skinned baddies, okay? But what annoys me is that the narrative is always going to be whatever is most convenient to invalidate your experience as an individual in that moment. It won't matter in that moment whether you're a more black passing mixed person or a mixed passing monoracial. They're going to do whatever they can to gaslight your ass. So publicly, Halle Berry is quote unquote just black because she can share a phenotype with a monoracial light skin. But behind closed doors, if you're a monoracial who wants to discuss their issues, and I'm sure many of you can attest, I know from personal experience, it can quickly become shut the fuck up because you could go for someone who's partially non-black. And it's just like a privileged motherfucker to play the victim. So it really doesn't matter, because these narratives are just used as triangulation to keep MLS women in this web that's used to silence you and invalidate how you're treated within the Black community or even out in the world. During this video, all I heard was her using the idea that Halle Berry being able to share phenotype with monoracial Black women to lessen Halle's position on the "are you mixed enough for it to count" hierarchy, which is weirdo thinking anyway, since we all can visibly see that Halle Berry has a fluid phenotype. I can guess that she's been told that she's not mixed enough for it to count, so she's projecting that. It's the same energy Black people give you when they say, well, my cousin sister Granny is your skin tone. My auntie is light skinned. Okay, well, if she's surrounded by unambiguous family like me, then she knows exactly what the fuck I'm going through. So here's where the gaslighting comes in. Because Black people will say, well, Halle Berry looks like your typical Black woman. But the asterisk is that they're saying she looks like the minority group of monoracials whose admixture actually made us more mixed passing and or light skin. They're literally just finding a roundabout way to still say that she looks mixed. But calm down, only mixed enough for your phenotype to give her privilege in the Black community, because you still look like an quote unquote everyday light skinned Black woman, right? But that's not true. Halle Berry has been heralded as a universal beauty, and according to every unambiguous Black woman that watches TV but hates to see light skins on their TV, she's both the Black community and Hollywood's preference. In the same way, light skinned celebrities catch heat. Everyday, quote unquote, pretty light skins, as that guy said, catch heat from the Black community for hitting what they seem to view as a genetic lottery. Another thing, at the end of this video, this lady says, if Halle Berry is white passing, then so am I. So this video quickly started to feel like her fishing for the quote unquote, no, you look mixed comments, which I did see a few, because she is mixed passing. And then I was like, man, this girl who's clearly exotical is just so disingenuous. Let me see if she has a link to her Instagram. Boom, got the Instagram, scrolled like twice before I was able to see photos of her and men who I assume are her MLS brothers. They looked very mixed. Scroll one more time to find her standing next to a man I assume is her dad, since he looks like the guy I assume is her brother. Her dad is clearly mixed, so I'll just assume she's at least 25% other. She herself is not even the everyday Black woman that she's offhandedly categorizing herself as, because she is mixed passing, and again, based on the phenotype of her family, she probably most definitely is more mixed than your standard everyday Black woman. Her entire page is filled with caping, and it just feels like she's coping with the fact that she's not as light skinned as the rest of her family. And her marrying a white man didn't help her case in my head, because I'm like, well, if she wants children, she's almost trying to guarantee that they come out light or damn near white. But that's her business. And I don't know this woman. This is all a conjecture, but I've seen this shit before. And this is what I mean when I say that I feel like light skin savioring is always coming off as fake and too try-hardy to me. And realistically, as long as you can, quote unquote, benefit from isms, they'll never believe that you're not an ismist. They're going to brand you that shit anyway. They just won't say anything about you caping because they like their ego stroke. That is until you say some shit they don't like. And I've said this several times. The pandering just feels like an overcompensation to hide the internalized isms they may really have, especially when I know you probably are using the caping to send virtue signals that you're a lowly exotical. I'll be your voice and your representation. I deserve the abuse because I was born so beautiful and I'm viewed as preferred. And like I mentioned in my video on rewiring your brain away from hierarchy thinking as an exotical, this type of hierarchical thinking is why I believe us non-bigoted medium tone middle children, no matter what your genetics test results are, have to stick together and stay on fucking code the same way the unambiguous Black community does, because we'll always be in the middle being gaslit. And clearly, sometimes even by people whose experience is very similar to our own. But if an exotical wants to go be a punching bag, let them. Mixed people and mixed passing Black people are constantly triangulated, when the reality is we're all having our experiences invalidated for one reason or another while still being preyed upon for our genetic material. So we shouldn't be letting any group of people wedge a divide between those of us who can/want to peacefully coexist and validate each other's nuanced experience. Now, if you're bigoted and you prefer white supremacy and hierarchy thinking, do you have fun? And I'll segue into my next point, but first let's watch this TikTok quickly. Now, this is an example of the exact triangulation I'm referring to, and I'll tell you why. This feels like an attempt by unambiguous Black women to make light-skinned monoracial women adopt the same type of scarcity mindset they have about their own presence in spaces. They want us as light-skinned monoracials to feel the same irrational fear they feel about being replaced. Although I see plenty of healthy representation of unambiguous women in Hollywood, they will loudly claim that they are underrepresented and that Hollywood prefers light-skinned women over them. All right, cool. I won't disagree or agree because I don't know what they're expecting. So that would imply that this TikTok is referring to light-skinned monoracial women being replaced by mixed-race Black women in media, right? Because she can't be referring to unambiguous Black women being replaced. According to them, they lack representation and you can't replace somebody who was never there. Okay, yeah, so that means you were referring to light-skinned monoracials being replaced. Gotcha. EU just did a really good video calling out how the unambiguous community hates on Amanda Stenberg for being a biracial that takes monoracial roles. But according to the video by the Exotical that I critiqued initially, Amanda wouldn't be considered quote-unquote mixed looking on sight. Y'all say she is a regular Black woman. So why the fuck would I, as a fellow regular Black woman, feel scarcity behind her existence and presence in a space when, despite her having a white parent, we share a similar phenotype? Her dad doesn't make me feel less seen. I don't know her daddy. And that's what I mean when I say us in the middle need to stick together. Because why on God's green fucking earth would I be offended by someone who's technically still representing me simply because she has a white parent? That's a fucking technicality. I'm more offended when people downplay Amanda's talent and skill and relate every role that she's gotten to her being MLS versus a great actress and a hard worker. Because that means they feel everything I've accomplished has happened because I'm MLS. For Black grandparents or not, we share a phenotype, and people are letting us know how they truly feel about people that look like us. And a lot of people assume I have a non-Black something in close proximity anyway. So how am I supposed to feel when I listen to them discuss Black or passing mixed people? Like, look at these women who have different backgrounds but similar phenotypes. Technicalities aside, do y'all really think that these people wouldn't see themselves in each other or feel represented by the other? Just take them at face value. Why would they feel scarcity if they can still see themselves represented? Don't unambiguous Black women feel represented by Africans and other dark-skinned Black ethnicities? They sure do, especially when it comes to the colorism conversation. It's the same scenario. Similar look, different background. I still see myself. So why would I, as a monoracial, be offended by mixed people? I exist because of mixed people. Therefore, I see no reason to let people who claim I can't relate to their experience fully and vice versa make me attempt to ostracize people I actually can relate to more easily because I have 4 Black grandparents. I just don't believe in crashing out over someone else's ancestry. Because why is it that we as MLS people have to represent unambiguous Black people, but we can't represent people we actually mirror? Let's be for real. That's just a sign that they want us to be silent unless they can use us as leverage in their collective societal social climb. They see us as tools. That's why they hate to see us tools leveraging our own social benefits for ourselves. They can't take advantage of you if you're busy utilizing your own privileges and controlling your own narratives. But anyway, that's all I have for this video. If you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. And be sure to hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think about the TikToks that I showed. All right, bye.